Welcome to iFire Story. This is your go-to spot for gripping tales of love, betrayal, and heartbreak. From true infidelity stories to cheating wife chronicles and Reddit's wildest family dramas, we dive deep into the raw emotions and twists that keep you hooked. Whether it's a lost love saga or a shocking cheating audio story, we've got it all. So, hit that subscribe button, grab some popcorn, and let's spark some stories that'll set your heart ablaze. I'm Amelia. The tale I am about to share is one that I find difficult to confess, yet it has deeply influenced my reflections on feelings, accountability, and the delicate balance between morality and immorality. That morning, my husband Greg departed early for a weekend business trip to Los Angeles. In a quaint house nestled by the California coast, we basked in the warm embrace of sunlight streaming through expansive windows, accompanied by the gentle symphony of waves crashing rhythmically throughout the day. Greg was passionate about his career, and I consistently stood by him, despite the fact that his regular absences made the home feel increasingly hollow with each departure. I chose to embrace the tranquility of the morning by tidying up the house and revitalizing the environment. I selected my favorite jazz playlist and began in the living room. The gentle notes from the speakers filled the air, crafting a serene and ethereal ambiance that harmonized beautifully with the refreshing ocean breeze. I opted for a classic white t-shirt paired with denim shorts for ease of movement, while I concentrated on dusting the tall bookshelves adorned with Greg's cherished decorations. An unmistakable sensation washed over me, as if someone were looming just behind me. I turned around and spotted Ryan, Greg's son from his earlier marriage, casually leaning against the door frame. Ryan emerged from his room, his hair tousled and his eyes still reflecting the remnants of slumber. "Good morning, Ryan," I said with a smile, making an effort to keep my tone bright. "Morning," he responded, his eyes holding on a moment more than they typically would. He entered the living room and settled onto the sofa, his gaze lingering on me. I attempted to focus on my tasks, but his presence made it increasingly difficult to maintain my concentration. We began chatting casually about his internship aspirations and the projects he was involved in. As I reached up to adjust a picture frame perched on the top shelf, I failed to realize how unsteady I was on the small stool beneath me. The stool teetered precariously to one side, and I found myself losing my balance. "Amelia," Ryan called out, his voice urgent as he hurried towards me. He encircled my waist just as I was about to tumble in the stillness of the room. The firmness of Ryan's hold was palpable. We remained motionless for a brief moment. My breath hitched in my chest as our gazes locked, closer than they had ever been. The strength of Ryan's hold enveloped me, yet it carried a softness, as though he feared to surprise me. My heart raced as I recognized our proximity, so near that I could sense the warmth of his breath. I released a soft chuckle to ease the heavy quietness. "I'm glad you were present. I might have taken a rather unfortunate tumble," I remarked with a hint of humor. Ryan took his time before replying. His gaze remained fixed on me, as though he had something to express, but lacked the bravery to voice it. His gaze held a blend of confusion, curiosity, and an undercurrent of admiration. I broke free from his grasp and straightened my t-shirt, attempting to restore my poise. Ryan remained in place, his gaze fixed on me. I faced him and spoke in a tone I aimed to keep casual. "Are you up to anything this weekend?" Ryan shrugged. a subtle smile playing at the corners of his lips. Not quite. I think I'll just stay in and unwind. I acknowledged him with a nod and made my way to the sofa, inviting him to join me there. I required a moment to regain my composure after almost losing my balance. Ryan settled into his seat, and in that moment, the distance between us seemed to shrink more than it ever had. The stillness that enveloped us was not filled with tension. Rather, it was a serene quietude, enveloping us in a sense of ease. The gentle murmur of the waves outside flowed in, paired with the warm, golden sunlight pouring through the expansive window. I caught Ryan's eye and saw that he continued to observe me with that tranquil, unwavering look. Yet there was a subtle shift, a gentleness, a genuine warmth in his expression. I've always cherished mornings like this, I remarked softly, shattering the stillness, tranquil and leisurely. Ryan nodded, his voice softening. I feel the same way, particularly when there's someone to experience it alongside. His words caused me to hesitate. There was a depth to his tone that suggested he was addressing something far from ordinary. My pulse raced with intensity. Is it Amelia? At times it seems we connect on a level beyond language, he murmured, his gaze unwavering from mine. The warmth crept up to my cheeks. Despite knowing I shouldn't, the way Ryan's gaze lingered on me cast a fog over my thoughts. In a moment of instinct, I extended my hand and gently brushed against his arm. That subtle gesture appeared to suspend the atmosphere around us. All that surrounded us was the rhythm of our breaths and an indescribable sensation that eluded expression. Is that you, Ryan? I whispered, filled with uncertainty, yet my gaze remained fixed. Ryan remained silent, yet he softly laid his hand over mine, grasping it in a way that seemed to offer comfort. At that instant, I realized we found ourselves at the brink of an experience that transcended mere temporary intimacy. Yet just as my thoughts began to swirl, he moved in nearer. I came to the understanding that I wasn't taking a step back. In the gentle embrace of the morning light and the warmth of his breath, it seemed as though the entire world beyond had faded away. Ryan leaned in closer, and I found myself irresistibly drawn to lean in slowly alongside him. That moment seemed to linger endlessly as the space between us vanished. His breath caressed my cheek, warm and achingly near. I shut my eyes, sensing that all the sounds surrounding us had faded away. As his lips met mine, gentle yet brimming with feeling, a thrill coursed through me from head to toe. The kiss unfolded slowly, savoring each moment. It was tender, as if we both understood we were stepping over a last threshold, one from which there was no turning back. My heart raced within me, yearning to escape its confines. I was aware that this was not right. I was well aware that this was a mistake. Yet, in that instant, my logic faltered against the comforting embrace Ryan offered. His hand brushed softly against my cheek, drawing me nearer as though he feared I might vanish. The powerful and swift rhythm of his heart resonated within me. It aligned perfectly with my own. I extended my hand to graze his shoulder, sensing the strength of his form and the rapid rise and fall of his breath as he softly uttered my name. Amelia. The timbre of his voice sent a chill down my spine. I leaned my head against his chest, feeling his arms envelop me with a secure yet gentle embrace, as if he aimed to protect me from everything beyond the world we had built together. Our breaths intertwined, his warmth surrounding us in the soft glow of the room. I gently caressed his cheek, savoring the warmth of his skin under my fingertips. Ryan wrapped his arms around me a bit tighter, his gaze filled with an undeniable sincerity and yearning. We were both aware that the boundary had been breached. The barriers that once stood between us had vanished. Ryan tilted his head and pressed his lips against mine once more, this time with a deeper, more fervent intensity. His kisses caused every barrier I had constructed to fall apart. I let my fingers glide through his hair, my hands quivering beneath the surge of emotions I could no longer contain. The waves outside persisted in their rhythmic melody, a gentle reminder of the world that continued to thrive beyond my immediate surroundings. In that instant, nothing mattered but the rhythm of his breath, the pulse of his heartbeat, and a connection that seemed to have woven our souls together for an eternity. I urged myself to cease, yet my heart remained unyielding. The gentle warmth of his breath brushed against my ear, his voice a soft, quivering whisper. "I'm at a loss, Amelia. You occupy my thoughts endlessly." I gently brushed my fingers against his cheek, and in his eyes, I recognized that we were both carried away by this profound, unexpressed feeling. The alluring temptation had driven us beyond the delicate boundary, enveloping me in a mix of fear and fervor, as though I had surrendered entirely to his embrace. I found myself teetering on the edge, caught in the fog that blurred the lines between what is real and the surge of intense feelings. The heat radiating from Ryan's body and the rhythmic thump of his heartbeat resonating within me clouded my thoughts even further. Each caress from him was soft yet searing, akin to a smoldering flame I couldn't douse. His lips brushed against my temple, trailing down to my cheek, where tiny droplets of sweat glistened, a testament to the chaos brewing inside me. My entire being quaked, not from fear, but driven by a longing so intense and taboo. His fingers wove through my hair, softly gliding, as if seeking to soothe and draw me nearer. I found myself captivated by his gaze, the gaze of youth imbued with a deep longing and a sincerity that struck me as almost painfully genuine. "Amelia." His voice trembled with a breath, rich in yearning, yet also imploring me to stay close. In that moment, I was uncertain about the choice I had just made. It was as if I were being swept away by a powerful current, unable to resist the force pulling me along. My heart compelled me to reply, oblivious to what might follow. I shut my eyes once more, sensing his breath against my neck, the rhythmic thump of his heart in his chest, transforming everything into a surreal reverie. Yet deep within my thoughts, a subtle voice murmured, "You've crossed the line." Despite everything, I found it impossible to hold back. Ryan drew me nearer, his warmth enveloping me like a comforting embrace, allowing me to lose sight of everything else beyond this fleeting moment. "I never thought this could happen," Ryan whispered, his eyes shimmering with a mix of doubt and delight as I hadn't turned him away. "Yet I fear losing you, or this sensation." His words struck me like arrows, sharp and unyielding. I understood the need to pull away, yet my fingers remained intertwined with his. Our breaths intertwined, rapid yet oddly serene. The waves outside persisted, an eternal symphony that deepened our sense of detachment from the world around us. I leaned my head on his shoulder, a mix of comfort and fear swirling within me. Reality faded away, much like a curtain drawn closed. Uncertainty enveloped me, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. The boundary had dissolved, reminiscent of a delicate veil of fog. Suddenly, a noise shattered the tranquility. The front door swung open, and a familiar voice resonated throughout the house. "Amelia, I've returned home." I stood still, as though emerging from a deep slumber. Ryan and I were suddenly yanked from the comforting cocoon we had unknowingly woven around ourselves. For a fleeting instant, it seemed as though my heart had ceased to beat. Ryan released his grip on me in an instant, his eyes filled with alarm. Yet beneath that surface lay a profound connection, a truth we both hesitated to voice. My heart raced with such intensity that I feared my entire being would come undone. The atmosphere shifted as Greg entered, his face radiant with a bright smile, entirely unaware of the chaos brewing within me. "Is that you, Amelia?" His voice carried a comforting ease, reminiscent of how he always sounded upon returning home after a lengthy business trip. I inhaled deeply to steady my nerves, striving to keep my voice composed. "I'm here," I announced as I emerged from the living room, making an effort to maintain a genuine smile despite the slight tremor in my hands. Greg approached, enveloping me in a warm embrace and planting a swift kiss on my forehead. "I missed you," he said, oblivious to the palpable tension that enveloped the house. I cast a quick look at Ryan. He stood a few feet away in the living room, his hands buried in his pockets as if to prevent them from trembling. Our gazes locked for a fleeting moment, yet it was sufficient for me to perceive the chaos within him, a blend of remorse and an enduring desire. "Is that you, Ryan? Come over and say hi to your dad," Greg said with a cheerful tone as he noticed him. Ryan inhaled deeply, composed himself, and approached with a strained grin. "Hey, Dad, how did your trip go?" Greg smiled brightly, giving Ryan's shoulder a proud pat. "It was a success. Everything unfolded seamlessly. I even returned with a couple of presents for you both." A lump formed in my throat as I heard Greg utter the word Mom. It brought to mind my position, straddling two realms, one bathed in Greg's serene affection, and the other ensnared in the illicit feelings that Ryan and I had just begun to explore. Greg faced me, his expression brimming with joy, as he recounted his meetings and amusing anecdotes from his journey. Yet his words merely floated by, barely registering in my mind. My thoughts lingered on that earlier moment, when I had felt genuinely acknowledged and wanted in a way I never imagined I would encounter again. Ryan lingered silently behind Greg, his gaze fixated on me, as though he were attempting to convey a message. Yet I turned away from his eyes. I had to ensure that Greg remained oblivious to anything out of the ordinary. With a warm smile, Greg suggested, "I'll make us some coffee. You must be tired," as he moved toward the kitchen, unaware of the thick silence enveloping the space. Once the kitchen door clicked shut, I shifted my attention to Ryan. "We must halt," I murmured, my voice trembling. Ryan moved in a bit, his gaze heavy with sorrow. "I'm aware, however, this sensation," he gulped, grappling with the elusive words for a feeling that seemed just beyond his grasp. "Ryan, we cannot continue in this manner. This family—" I tightened my grip, clinging to the final remnants of my determination. "This family means the world." Ryan remained quiet, his gaze revealing a profound sorrow. He gave a slight nod, yet I was aware that we both recognized the weight of what had transpired between us, a memory not easily cast aside. Greg came back with 2 cups of coffee, his smile shining as always. "You both appear quite solemn. While I was gone, nothing of note occurred, right?" I let out a laugh, airy, yet somewhat strained. "No, absolutely nothing." "It was merely casual conversation," I responded, extending my hand to grasp the cup of coffee from Greg. Ryan's smile was present, yet his eyes betrayed a lingering shadow of unease and regret. He averted his gaze and strolled toward the expansive window that framed the ocean, as though seeking an avenue to flee the space now heavy with recollections. I settled beside Greg, yet the once familiar feeling of joy and tranquility had been disrupted by a fracture I feared might never heal. The heat of his hand in mine failed to calm the tempest brewing within me. In the days that ensued, an unspoken weight enveloped the atmosphere. I endeavored to maintain a sense of normalcy, tidying up the house, cooking dinner alongside Greg, inquiring about his work just as I typically would. Yet, in every silent pause that followed our exchanges, I remained acutely aware of Ryan's gaze upon me. Ryan averted his gaze whenever Greg was nearby, yet in those fleeting moments, we encountered each other in the kitchen, the hallway, or out on the porch. The palpable awkwardness and unvoiced tension lingered in every exchanged look. One afternoon, while Greg was out enjoying a game with friends, I took a moment to step into the backyard and tend to the rose bushes with some water. The late afternoon sun gently danced through the leaves, yet my mind remained burdened by lingering thoughts I couldn't release. The gentle sound of footsteps approached from behind, and I instantly recognized it was Ryan. My heart constricted, yet I remained steadfast, refusing to look back. He moved in, positioning himself just a few feet apart. Ryan mentioned he just wanted to step outside for some fresh air, his voice soft and a bit uncomfortable. I nodded, attempting to concentrate on my task, yet my fingers gripping the garden hose quivered. Ryan advanced another step, drawing near enough for me to catch the gentle rhythm of his breath, mingling with the crisp ocean air. "It seems you're trying to keep your distance from me, isn't that right?" His voice was soft, yet brimming with a sense of urgency. I remained quiet, uncertain of how to reply. I feared that speaking up would cause everything to fall apart. "I understand. All that transpired. It's challenging to come to terms with." Ryan paused, his gaze heavy with anguish. Yet I cannot act as if it never occurred. "You occupy my thoughts endlessly." I glanced at him, and in his eyes, I perceived a whirlwind of emotions I'd been attempting to suppress. Confusion, longing, and guilt intertwined in a complex dance. "Ryan, we need to move beyond this," I said gently, striving to maintain my composure. His eyes wavered briefly before locking onto mine, filled with a mix of anguish and determination. However, I'm uncertain about the way forward. As thoughts swirl in my mind, each look and every fleeting moment brings it all rushing back to me. I clutch the hose with increasing intensity, my knuckles paling to a stark white. I shared that sentiment. Each morning and evening, that moment replayed in my mind with the vividness of a recent memory. Yet I was aware that I needed to put an end to it. This family represented all that Greg and I had created together. I inhaled deeply, feeling the sting in my eyes as tears hovered on the brink of falling. "Ryan, if you truly value this family and your father, then we must find a way to release our hold." He remained quiet, as if waging a war inside his own mind. At last, he gave a nod and turned his back, his shoulders trembling ever so slightly, as though he had just experienced a profound loss. I observed him retreat into the house, leaving me solitary in the dimming dusk. A profound emptiness settling in every fiber of my existence. I understood this was the correct choice, yet the gap between us seemed to rip a part of my heart from me. I remained motionless in the yard as the late afternoon sun sank below the horizon. The waves crashed relentlessly, serving as a poignant reminder of time's unwavering patience and permanence. Yet within me, chaos reigned, a tempest that refused to be tamed. I was aware that sensation lingered on. Each look, each recollection of Ryan was imprinted in my thoughts. Yet, I was acutely aware that inaction would lead to a descent into chaos, and remaining in this emotional limbo would ultimately unravel everything. That night, in the stillness of the house, as Greg slept peacefully, I found myself on the couch, gazing out at the expansive window. The expansive night sea lay ahead, yet my mind was a whirlwind of tangled thoughts. The following morning, I resolved to put an end to the stifling tension once and for all. I entered the kitchen, and Ryan's gaze met mine as soon as he noticed my presence. It seemed he had an understanding that this dialogue was bound to happen. I positioned myself opposite him, my fingers intertwined to prevent any signs of nervousness. "Ryan," I started, my tone gentle yet resolute. "This cannot continue." Ryan nodded slowly, yet his eyes reflected a profound sorrow. "I understand. But how can we act as if it never occurred?" I gazed at him for what felt like an eternity, the pain in my heart intertwining with a newfound determination. "While the past remains unalterable, our path ahead is ours to define. Your entire future lies before you. And this family relies on me." Ryan bowed his head, burdened by the weight on his shoulders. I've never experienced such intensity before, but I'll give it my best shot. I extended my hand and softly brushed against his one final time, a quiet goodbye. "I have faith in your abilities, and I will share that belief as well." We sat together in silence, yet this silence carried a weight of understanding. I was certain that what we shared was no error. It was an aspect of the intricate feelings that people occasionally find difficult to manage. Yet, the decision to release it did not lessen its worth. Rather, it served as a reflection of the development and admiration we held for one another, and for this family. A week later, Ryan got an offer from a prominent company in New York, a dream internship he had always envisioned. As he revealed the news during dinner, Greg beamed with joy and embraced him, expressing his pride in his son's achievements. I smiled, yet within me stirred a blend of relief and sorrow. As Ryan departed, I lingered at the threshold, enveloping him in a heartfelt embrace. "Look after yourself, Ryan," I murmured softly. He nodded, his gaze soft yet resolute. "Same to you, Amelia." He strolled off, taking along every aspiration and recollection he held dear. I stood there, observing his car fade into the distance along the coastal road, experiencing a strange mix of lightness and emptiness, as if I had just turned the page on a significant chapter of my life. Our narrative may not have followed the typical path to a joyful conclusion, yet there are moments when stepping back is the sole means to preserve what is truly lovely. I retreated into the cozy embrace of our home, catching Greg's voice from the living room, a sound that felt both familiar and reassuring. I entered the room and offered him a warm smile. Life continued, and I decided to embrace the tranquility I understood I had to safeguard within me. That's it for today's fiery tale on iFire Story. If you got caught up in this infidelity story or Reddit cheating drama, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts. What would you do in this situation? Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss our next true story of love gone wrong. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay curious and keep the spark alive.